Good afternoon. Welcome to Mike and the Hoss on Wolfeboro Community Television. I'm Mike Danais.
And I'm Charlie Hossack.
Coach, we want to thank our sponsors, Morrissey's Front Porch,
Skelly's Market,
and Downtown Grill and Cafe. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Kingswood.
Again, we had a lot of stuff to talk about again. There's a lot of stuff that happened in the sports world.
Yeah.
And that's going to be happening in the sports world.
Right.
But we'll start like we usually do with Kingswood Sports.
Right.
And
that's the most important. So let's start with Kingswood.
Absolutely. That's why we're here.
Absolutely.
Hockey team, again, only played
boys
one
hockey,
game.
boys
hockey team. Thank you for clarifying. Only played one game again.
Mm-hmm.
Had some more weather issues and stuff like that, but they only had one game against Kennett.
Yeah.
So Carroll County rivalry.
Rivalry.
And Kingswood boys came out on top, 4-0.
They did. It was a good game to watch.
Yeah, Oleg Sheehan with his first
Nice
shutout ever for Oleg Sheehan.
Really?
In any level, at any level, Oleg Sheehan,
Good
first
for
shutout
Oleg.
ever. Yep.
Oh, that was awesome. And he faced a lot of shots.
He did.
Made some great saves.
Yeah, the boys, they really struggled in the first period. They looked like they had some rust on them, and there was no flow to their game.
That was a tough period. I mean, it ended 0-0 after the first, but you're right. It wasn't good hockey.
And I know Coach Potenza got on their case in between periods, and they came out with a little bit more energy in the second period, and then they put it away in the third. So,
good.
Overall, it's a good game. They're back to 3-3, and they have a game against Winnicott, who is winless to this point, but they have played the iron
The
of the
top
league.
teams.
Yeah, so they can't be looking past Winnicott. That's it.
No.
It's a must-win, but it's also very winnable,
Right.
and they can't look past that game. Girls team.
Yep, girls. They lost to a very good Berlin team. You were there for part of it with us, and they played well. I mean, the girls against comparing last year to this year, and then even the beginning of this year, just kind of seeing the girls' team's growth, and that's what we always talk about. They're getting better. They're playing hockey. They're being in the right position. They were just outplayed by a good Berlin team, and you coached some of those girls that play for Berlin.
I did. Some of them played on my summer club team, and they're legit. They're legit hockey players up there.
And they're very well coached.
And if there is a problem with girls hockey in the state, is that there needs to be a division or two.
Sure.
Because it's hard for the girls to get better. You're saying they're seeing growth. They get better when they're playing teams that they can skate
compete
with.
against. Yeah.
Berlin was playing keep away, and that's like the third or fourth game that we've seen that it's either they're playing keep away or it's a competitive game.
Right.
There's nothing in between where the girls are getting better. The girls aren't getting really much better chasing pucks around the ice, or chasing the other players. And it's also on Berlin's side or any of these other top teams, they're not getting better either.
Yeah. So I agree with that. The thing, though, with the Kingswood hockey that I want to talk a little bit about, we have some girls on that team that are still working on skating backwards. So these girls, we're seeing progress with that.
Absolutely.
And from the practices, so it's good to see that Kingswood hockey. I would say they're actually playing hockey.
I would agree. Yeah. I would agree, and I talked to Coach Kelly about that. That the girls seem like there's a plan that they are playing hockey out there, and it's noticeable the improvement.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And they have a game, so they're coming up. They of course this Saturday have the number 1 seed, which is Concord. They're traveling over to Concord. Concord's undefeated,
and that surprises me when you think about Exeter and Hanover. That Concord's the number 1. Concord must be
and
phenomenal.
And Berlin.
And Berlin.
Yeah.
Berlin.
So, what is it?
It's not Berlin. It's Berlin.
It's Berlin. I'm not from New Hampshire, so it's Berlin.
Berlin is in Germany.
Okay.
Berlin.
That's right. I have to say you were part-time Berlin boy.
Yes.
Is it Berlin? Did I get that correct?
Berlin.
Okay. All right. I'll keep working on it.
We will practice that.
All right.
Boys basketball.
Yeah.
They're 2-6, which we know that Coach Blaze, that's not where he wanted his team at this point.
Right.
But then again, if you look at their schedule, I was talking with Matt Place a little while ago, and he said we've played every top team in the state.
Yeah.
Every top team in the state that we've played. We should win our next 10 games.
Yeah.
And
starting tonight.
Yep. And that's what they're looking at. Yeah. So we'll see if it's true.
Yeah, I hope so. I know they've got Co-Brown tonight, and Co-Brown only has 2 wins. And then they've got Plymouth coming up, so they were able to take care of Plymouth. So, but good, that's great. Matt's a great basketball player, and I hope that's true. I hope they win the next 10.
He seemed pretty confident, and he wasn't shook about losing these 6 games.
Yeah,
because he looks at that schedule and the standings. It says we played them, we played them, we played them, we played them. We haven't played them, and them.
Perfect.
So he feels pretty good about it.
So it starts tonight.
they're getting a lot of scoring. Brogan Shannon's putting the ball in the hoop ball in the basket.
Ball in the basket.
Ball in the basket.
Ball in the hoop's fine too.
He scored 33 the other night. That's
a lot. That's a lot of points in high school basketball.
Yeah.
For an individual player.
That's a nice job. So, nice job, Brogan. Girls basketball still looking for their first win.
They are. Yeah.
And that's all I know.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot, but I know that Coach Garabedian is hoping still to either come on the show or at least get us some information, and we should probably we need to make an effort to get to a game.
Okay.
So that way, and if we can't get them, maybe we can get some of the captains.
Well, on February 4th, the girls basketball team is going to be playing Co-Brown at 7 o'clock.
Let's do that game.
So we'll try and get there on February 4th.
I do have a Nordic update.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so I saw Coach Arsenault, Coach Mick Arsenault, just at the basketball game a little while ago, and I hate to read this, but I'm just going to give you an overview. The girls team for Nordic skiing is very strong this year, and we know this, led by Allison Bean and Sarah Bellaflor, and then also freshman Marcella Donito.
Really?
So they won 3 out of 4 races this season, and they're really excited about where they're going to go.
That's awesome.
So I'm hoping we're going to get another ski meister and Allison Bean.
That was a great visit last year with Allison.
Oh, fantastic! I mean, we learned so much, and she's quite an athlete.
And she was quite the character too.
Yeah,
you know, she was a lot of fun to have on the show.
She could have her own show.
She could.
The boys team, Nordic skiing, is being led by Axel Platch and Tim Huckman. And the middle school team also has 3 skiers, and they're excited, and they're progressing. So it's good to see. Axel. Axel was a soccer player, a very good soccer player, and Tim Huckman ran cross country. So it's good to see them using their skills.
It's nice to see all that depth. They have seniors in Allie Bean, but they also have freshmen in Marcella Donito, and then middle schoolers that are coming up and skating. So the ski program is really strong.
Which is great.
And they're competing, and all you have to do is go into the gym and see all the banners for that Kingswood has produced over the years.
I know. So that's it's very exciting, and I know Coach Arsenault is doing a great job as head coach this year. I think it might be his first year as head coach. Did Coach Merrill step down last year? I don't know.
Coach Merrill's been here as long as I've been here.
I know, but I know that Coach Arsenault's doing a fantastic job. Obviously, not only with cross country, he was the head coach for that, but now with Nordic.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on.
Well, just so we don't have a whole lot of track. We don't really have any track update. You know what we need to do for track? We need to just bring Devin Wade in.
Let's just bring Devin in.
I was just hanging out with Devin Wade, and he's...
Well, and that's who I got my information from last week was Devin, because he's always hanging around.
I shouldn't really say I'm hanging out with Devin Wade. He happened to be in the gym.
But Devin,
we could get him
my
in
understanding is that there was a record that was set. That Devin set a record.
See, that's the stuff I want to talk about.
I don't know. I don't have any hard information on that, but let's plan on see if we can grab Devin next week.
Yeah, and then maybe a swimming update as well.
Okay.
So that'd be great. Good.
All right. So nationally, there was obviously tragic news. We're probably showing this on Friday, so it's almost a week out from it. The death of Kobe Bryant, which was a shock. One of those moments. Where were you when you saw that? Yeah. And where were you?
We were part of it together, believe it or not, because I had just read it. I was at home.
Yeah.
I had just read it on on the news, and then you texted me about 30 seconds later.
Okay.
So
when I was sitting on the couch, and I just happened not to be on my phone at that point.
Yeah.
And Will was on his phone, and he says, "Holy crap!
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant just died."
Yeah.
And I was like, "No." Yeah. And I'm looking around the television, there was nothing, and then sure enough.
Yeah, nowadays too, with all the hoaxes and stuff, and you're trying to check it and verify, and you're hoping it's a hoax. But
pretty shock. I mean, really shocking, and we have some stuff planned for later in the show about just prominent athletes that have left us too early,
right?
And some discussion, and there's been a lot of talk about the full story of Kobe, and we're 5-6 days out now, so
sure.
I don't think it's too soon that we can ask these questions, because there was a lot of great memorials done for him,
right.
I don't think of the word. Wasn't a memorial, but tributes.
Tributes
to Kobe that day. The 24-second clock stuff.
Right.
Different teams are going to retire.
Wearing the uniform, number 8, number 24.
And then I think it got even bigger, where they want to change the NBA silhouette.
Right, because now it's Jerry West.
Right.
Yeah, and they want to change it maybe to Kobe.
To Kobe, and so then the story turned at, Kobe does have a slightly checkered past.
Right.
And he had some issues back in 2003 that are still part of the story.
Yes.
And I was on Twitter, and there's been a lot of stuff going back and forth on that. Is it applicable now? And I'm of the camp that sure, that doesn't mean we can't mourn him.
Right, I agree with that.
And we can't celebrate his basketball career, but he tripped up.
Yeah.
Along the way a little bit.
I think you have to look at the human side, and he made a mistake, and he truly had his day in court. He was acquitted. He had split up with his wife.
Well, he wasn't acquitted.
They said, I'm sorry, you're right. I shouldn't say acquitted.
No,
they said they didn't go to trial, and they settled out of court.
She did not press charges. She did not want to testify, and so they settled out of court.
Right.
So
acquitted was not the right word. Yeah. But they settled out of court. But he had split up with his wife.
Yep.
And then they went through whatever they went through, and then they ended up getting back together.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously we hope everybody is good from that 03 incident, but I think it gets to the bigger question: should it be part of the story? And I think yes, it is.
So it is.
It was a year that we were watching it on the news every night, just like the impeachment trial. We were watching this on the news because he was a major athlete at the time back then, and it was the same as the Tiger Woods stories and
and go back to the O.J. Simpson. That's all that stuff.
So I think it is part of the story. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that we're not sad about it. I think Kobe Bryant was one of the 5 best basketball players in NBA history.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
And as I think about it, I think about Kobe's competitive edge, and that his dad was an NBA player, grew up in Italy. He's very he's educated, he's affluent.
Sure.
But he came into the league at 17, or was drafted at 17 years, a lottery pick.
Yeah. And
he could have, kicked back and says, "I made it." Mm-hmm. That guy, right to the end,
driven,
wants to win, practice, and that was the whole premise behind the helicopter. Was that he wanted to still have family time, but he wanted to make sure that he was able to get to practices and work out.
Right.
And that's why he started traveling in the helicopter, because the LA traffic, you know that,
of course,
the LA traffic is out of control, and so he said, "I want to be a dad. I want to play longer, but I need to be a dad." But I need to get to these practices, and I need to get to these workouts, and so I'm going to be a helicopter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you could do it, great. But it could have happened to anybody. We bring our boys to practices all the time.
Yeah.
And the fragility of life was really what hit me on this whole thing, is that this guy has, obviously more money than we do.
Of course.
Just by a little bit.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like it was an old beat-up helicopter. It was probably, state-of-the-art.
Yep.
And
the qualified pilot and everything.
But it just, your time comes. It comes. Yeah. And it's pretty scary when you think of it in terms like that.
Sure. And it wasn't, and
it wasn't just him.
It wasn't just Kobe.
Yeah.
I mean, it was obviously his daughter and a friend and a teammate and the college coach and their families. So there were a lot of people involved.
Yeah. It really is. It's a sad thing. And I guess we wish the best to his family at this point. I see that you put on here. I didn't even know this.
Yeah.
This must have just been announced today.
Yes, I had put it in. Dusty Baker was named head coach of the Houston Astros.
Yeah, I think that's a great choice.
I think it's a great choice because everybody loves Dusty Baker. Yeah. So, and that this year the Astros, I mean, it doesn't matter where they go, they're going to be called cheaters and they're going to be booed, and it's just going to be a nightmare. So having Dusty Baker, who has lots of experience, I think that's a good decision by Houston.
All right, so you threw that baseball nugget into our nationals. So if we're going to skip down to the Red Sox while we're on baseball, if that's okay with you.
I'm okay as long as it's okay with Timothy.
Well,
is that all right? Oh, there we go. The Red Sox logo.
Now, Dusty Baker is the manager of the Astros, but the Red Sox do not have a manager.
There is no manager for the Red Sox, and obviously they've thrown around a lot of different names.
Do you think they're ready to start taking like my name or Coach Skelly's name?
I mean,
into the mix
I would
bit?
support you guys. Yeah, Danais and Skelly, or Skelly and Danais, that'd be perfect.
Danais and Skelly sounds much better.
That's as long as you can hook me up with tickets. So thank you.
If we got the job, you can count on it.
Okay.
But they're we're 2 weeks out.
Yeah, we are.
Pitchers and catchers.
We are.
And they have no manager in place. Does that mean that they must know they just don't want to announce it yet? Are they waiting for the investigation to get cleared through? So
I think you're right. I think they probably know who they're going to name as manager, and obviously I think that person knows. And I think it's okay. Let's let the dust settle. I don't think they need to run right out and name a manager.
Don't they need a manager in place by the time they get down to spring training?
What I'm worried about is you need a manager in place, but what about all the coaches? Like, because essentially these coaches don't have jobs, right? The current Red Sox coaches, because a manager can come in and clean house and say, I don't want you, I'm going to bring in my own people.
Yeah, but at this point, if they hire somebody, he doesn't have his own people.
He's just going to have to keep, whoever's in place.
That's why I'm thinking that it's still going to be an in-house person like a Veritech, because they have to be able to seamlessly get into the system. You can't bring in a Bobby Valentine who's going to blow up the whole thing.
Yeah, I think we talked about this last time, and you're right about Bobby Valentine. But what about Pedroia?
I think Pedroia is a legit.
I mean, we had mentioned it last time, and now it looks like he's not. He's probably never going to play baseball again.
Yeah,
he had another setback with the knee, so let him.
And maybe that's the holdup, because they're working with Pedroia to see, because the news on the knee just happened last week,
right?
And so maybe they're just letting that settle down and say, this is what we'd like to do.
How cool would that be if Petey were the manager?
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
that would be pretty cool. Yeah. I'd be excited about that. Mookie Betts seems like he's as close to gone as he's been.
Yeah.
They actually have him, the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers.
Yeah. And
you're hearing names coming back, too.
Yeah. The one, obviously, the Padres, and we put on our notes, is I don't know if I like it. Because Will Myers, right, he's an outfielder. I mean, I think he's batting average is like 243. And he's owed a lot of money, like 40-something million. And they want the Red Sox to kind of absorb that. And they're going to take Mookie, and then obviously the Padres will give some more in return. I don't think that's necessarily a good move, because, and it goes back to this, we're still stuck with David Price.
I would just, at this point, with the Red Sox having such a goal to reduce their payroll, I would just assume that they package Mookie Betts with David Price.
Yeah, you said
we don't need anybody back.
Yeah.
We don't need anybody back. Or give us, some guy in single A,
yeah.
Some
Prospect.
third level prospect,
yeah.
and maybe that they hit.
Yeah.
But if the goal is to get rid of payroll, I just don't see them getting anything back for it. It's a 1-year rental.
Right.
They're still paying $27 million. The other team that picks them up.
Yeah.
Don't take anybody back. Just take those two guys and we'll go with what we got.
So do you think Mookie's gone before spring training?
Absolutely. Now I do.
Okay.
Just because
I agree with you.
Just where there's smoke, there's fire, and there seems to be a lot of action. When you start hearing names coming back,
right,
I think that means they're really talking.
Yeah, and Dodgers have been mentioned as well.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Celtics.
Yeah.
I had wrote down inconsistent.
Yes, you did.
And do you know what their record in the last? I wrote down inconsistent before I looked at their record in the last 10.
Like they won 5 of the last 10.
5-5.
Yeah.
That would be inconsistent.
That is very inconsistent.
I see you put the Zion Williamson stuff. Did you watch some of that?
Yeah. I mean, Zion Williamson dominating them, and it goes to the point where
he played only 20 minutes.
Yeah, you would put down, what do the Celtics need? And my response is, they need a big man, and you could see that clearly when they faced Zion the other night.
They had nothing for him. Nothing.
They didn't.
And this is a rookie playing in his third NBA game.
Yeah.
And he dominated them.
Mm-hmm.
They had no answer for him, and and Cantner's out.
You got Cantner, you got Williams, and you got Tatum.
Out.
They're all out with injuries. Knees, hips, groins, and the big test this week. They've got the Heat, the Warriors, and the 76ers.
Is the Heat home or is it away?
I believe they're in Miami.
Okay, so that's pretty much unwinnable down there right now.
Well, yeah.
The 76ers, they should beat. They're ahead of them in the standings. I know they struggled against them.
Should,
and the Warriors are not the Warriors of the past.
I get it. But if you don't have Cantor, and we haven't had Williams for a while, or Tatum, it's a big ask right now.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so I think the Celtics need to figure out the big man piece.
Trade deadline's coming up on that.
Yeah.
You had mentioned...
I'm over that. I had talked about Drummond, but yeah.
You're over that?
I think I'm over that because I don't think we need a big man, but I don't think getting rid of Hayward, because Hayward is finally playing well, and I think Hayward is a big part of the offense.
Hayward had a difficult time with the Kobe Bryant stuff. Did you catch any of that stuff?
Yeah, I did see.
I guess they had a little bit of history because he was out on the West Coast in Utah, and he had a tough time.
Yeah, and speaking of that, the Kobe Bryant, who was it that was it Kendrick Perkins who cleared the air with KD?
Kendrick Perkins,
yeah, and just was like, okay, this is the time to say my apologies and ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, it makes, as humans, like, we reflect on.
Well,
on
I mean,
this.
you've been to funerals before, and
Of course.
you just you don't have that ill will anymore when you
No,
go to these things,
not at all.
you're broken down.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool that Kendra Perkins did that.
Yeah.
Bruins, they are still in first place.
They are.
They are winning more games than they lose.
They are. They won a few overtime games as well.
They've won a few overtime games, so I
Yeah.
guess that 3-on-3 practice worked.
Yeah.
What do they need?
Well, I put down the stat there. You said that you could see it. It says the Bruins are 21st in the league for goals per game.
That's unbelievable. They have that, but they have the leading scorer.
I know. So my answer to that is they need an offensive weapon. So they need someone to kind of fill in the top six. First line's great.
I would say, I think you're on the right track, but
Yeah.
I think you get the wrong position. I think they need an offensive defenseman.
Okay.
Because I don't think they're getting scoring from their defense.
Yeah.
And they need somebody who, like a Torrey Krug, who can quarterback from that defensive position. Because he's really their best offensive defenseman, and they're not getting offense out of McAvoy. He's only has a couple goals this year. Brandon Carlo, they're not getting offense out of.
Right.
And so I think it's time that they look, okay, I like Carlo and I like McAvoy. I don't want to lose him. Right. Krug is probably going to be leaving at the end of this year.
Right.
And, maybe
put him on the block and see what he can get.
Moving Krug for a younger, dynamic defenseman, I don't know. I don't know. They definitely need some more offense, and I think the easy solution is just, trade for a wing.
Yeah.
But I think they can make all six forwards better by trading for a defenseman
that can score.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting though. I mean, we talk every week. We talk about the Bruins, and they are comfortably in first place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just they're almost autopilot.
It's just the thing that strikes is the overtime losses is 12, and like the next closest is like 4.
Yeah,
for the other teams. So,
crazy.
They definitely struggle there.
Yeah.
So, I guess we're at that point where we're going to talk about some things, and the Kobe Bryant stuff just brought up feelings of where were you now? Feelings for other athletes.
Sure.
And we're not old by any means.
Not at all.
There's some generational stuff there.
Yeah, and you're a lot older than I am.
Yes, a whole whopping.
But
year.
This was where we have a list of different athletes that we had said earlier that kind of left us too soon.
Yeah,
they left us, and sometime, and for some of them, just starting their career or in the prime of their career, or just after.
And just a moment so that we can reflect. And obviously, we talked about Kobe, and then the first one on the list that I had put down was Lou Gehrig.
Yeah,
which obviously predated us.
Of course.
But
so he passed away in 1941.
The story of Lou Gehrig, I think, is one of the greatest baseball stories, and tragic baseball stories,
of course.
too. Yeah. But I mean, he had a disease named after him. It was so impactful, and besides, I think sometimes what gets forgotten with Lou Gehrig is how good of a baseball player he was.
Right.
And he was part of that Babe Ruth group, and he was the number 3 or 4 hitter in that lineup.
Yeah.
And protected Ruth, and was just obviously consistent because he played better than 2,000 games.
And he played. The interesting thing is he played. I mean, he died in 41. He played through in 39. He played in the major leagues, and his game, although for Lou Gehrig had fallen off, most people will look at it and say he still had an outstanding 1939.
Right.
Which is crazy. That shows you how good he was.
That's just a great story. Dale Earnhardt was, and I'm not that big into race car stuff,
right.
But even that struck me because he was still racing.
Everybody knew his name.
He was still racing.
Yeah.
He was the guy in stock car racing and NASCAR, and
that was
and he died doing what he loved in the sport itself.
In one of the biggest events, Daytona 500. Right. So, and that happened down in 2001. And when you say where were you then? I don't remember, but I remember. Like, oh my gosh.
It doesn't feel that long ago.
Yeah.
Dale Earnhardt doesn't feel that long ago. But there's a large segment of our population that are still mourning his death. I mean, how many I think it was number 3.
Yeah, number 3.
The back of the trucks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Roberto Clemente was a plane crash, so it's similar to Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
And he was on a humanitarian mission.
He was, yeah. And he was still playing ball.
Yeah.
And then he went.
And very good.
Yeah. Exceptional. So he certainly, that was in 1972. So I was an infant. Just throwing that out there. So I don't remember it.
So was I.
Oh, yeah.
Steve Prefontaine.
Yeah. So this is crazy. That I mean, this was
good movie.
Yeah, a great movie. So this was in the 75, but he died in a car crash. He went to Oregon. Is that right? University of Oregon.
I don't know.
But he was a runner training for the Olympics.
Yeah.
And wow.
And it was nationally known at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, he was
trying, so
Thurman Munson.
Yeah.
I was 10 when Thurman Munson died, and I remember my dad just kind of sitting back, and he wasn't a Yankees fan. He was Red Sox fan.
Right.
But it was a big deal for him.
Yeah.
Because it was that rivalry, the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry,
right.
and he was the Veritek of that.
Yeah, Munson was a catcher for the Yankees, and he died. He bought a Cessna airplane, and unfortunately crashed it.
Yep.
So
we're running out of time, so we're gonna go quickly. Len Bias.
Oh man, yeah.
Set this. Not to be callous or anything, but that set the Celtics back about 10 years.
It sure did.
And not the next one was the one after is Reggie Lewis.
Oh yeah.
Was would have been in that. So Len Bias and Reggie Lewis would have been in the same starting five.
Right.
For the Celtics.
For the Celtics.
Hank Gathers died on the court.
Yeah.
Remember that heart?
Yeah. He had the and that was during his college days.
Yeah. He was Loyola
Marymount. Yeah. How about the big one there, Pat Tillman?
Pat Tillman.
Man, he gave up. So played for the Cardinals, NFL player, safety. Like you could project potential Hall of Famer in the NFL. Yep. I mean, just the guy was amazing.
Yep.
And then post 9/11, he enlisted in the United States Army. He went on and became a Ranger, Army Ranger, and then he was killed in Afghanistan. But he actually. It talked about how he actually turned down. He was so loyal to the Arizona Cardinals, he turned down a $9 million contract offered by another team just because of his loyalty.
Yep.
And $9 million back then was a ton of money. I mean, it's still a ton of money for us, but you know what I'm saying as far as contract. But this guy was someone who had it all, and he was willing to sacrifice. He sacrificed it all.
He felt I had a calling.
Yep. He had a calling, and he wanted to serve our country.
Yep. Junior Seau, that kind of touched the.
This was painful for me.
But that brings in the CTE.
Yeah.
Actually, the next two do bring in the CTE, and he was 1 year out of retirement.
Yeah.
And he committed suicide.
Yeah, I mean, and I loved him when he was playing ball, and just that was
it was nice that he.
That was a real shock. That was a real shock to me.
Yeah. And very beloved, very beloved, especially in the San Diego area.
Yeah, but beloved by not only the fans but his teammates, coaches.
Yep. So. And then lastly, Aaron Hernandez.
Sure.
And we had talked about him on the show last week, I think. And I just watched that special.
You just finished the documentary. Yeah.
But anyway.
So.
Well, that was. I think it was important to talk about those things, especially in light of the Kobe Bryant sudden loss of Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Just to kind of go through memory lane there and
I know.
appreciate some of the people that have been with us in the sports world and that are no longer with us.
Yeah.
So, but that's going to do it for us. See anything else?
I don't.
All right. I want to thank Morrissey's Front Porch.
Yeah. Downtown Grill and Cafe.
And Skelly's Market.
Yeah.
So we will see you next week.
Go Knights.
Go Knights.